pitchforks. We're going after
Okay,
Bearcaster. Oh,
attempt
hey, the
number
tat's back.
3. We are now should be officially live again. Probably.
Well, the
It's
chat is back.
yay.
Yay!
Do you hear
It's
us, chat? Let us know.
indeed. Hey everybody, it's to the end for the third time
Yeah, I think
today.
they hear us.
Yeah, wait, can they hear us?
Play this.
I see some yays and yeses in the
Yeah.
Okay,
chat.
cool. Yes, anyway, yeah, to the end. Woo! It's Duhad with non-Avalos
Hi.
and Pad Save.
Good day.
And we are talking about Canadian Thanksgiving, which is a day that celebrates apparently the Frobisher.
It's a harvest.
Well, apparently, like the event actually is tied to the arrival in Canada of the British ship Frobisher. But
I don't know. We just needed something to call
Yeah.
Thanksgiving so the Americans wouldn't think we were weird.
It's true.
But then we had to put it earlier just because, we have to be different. And, also
And
lots
yeah,
of
it's
snow.
Canadian Thanksgiving. I want to say it's this weekend, isn't it?
It is. It's Monday.
Yeah. Like, my family is Italian on my mother's side, so we don't celebrate it, but it's there. If you did celebrate it, it's there.
It feels slightly odd to me. It seems slightly odd to me because there's a number of other festivals and celebrations that happen around this time of year around the world. Because I mean, it's a harvest season. There are lots of harvest holidays. But it's kind of odd because I was just looking up the Canadian one and like the wording on it, like the wording that the Parliament gave to their declaration that the second Monday of October would be a Canadian Day of Thanksgiving and stuff. It's like worded almost exactly like the American one. Like the actual like wording from the legal document is almost identical. And yet they like for whatever reason decided, but we're gonna make these different days to celebrate things because whatever. It's not even like it's like the first time a Canadian colony was set up or anything. It just seems to have been like, well, here's an event that kind of works for people. Let's just do that one.
I
Like
always
the bit-
assumed that the separate days were to accommodate the different harvest seasons, but
Yeah, so I thought it might be something like that
maybe
as well.
harvest in America is considered whenever your Thanksgiving is, just like harvest here is considered the Thanksgiving here.
Well, the other thing about the American Thanksgiving and like why it kind of comes off as a little bit weird that the two are named the same thing despite being fairly different holidays is that American Thanksgiving isn't actually a harvest holiday. Sort
know
of.
it's
It's the celebration of the first major successful harvest, but it's kind of sort of weird. It's more about kind of essentially saying like, haha, we won.
Flower and pilgrims and
Yeah, sort of.
Indians and
Yeah.
Sorry, Native
It's
Americans.
basically the victory left for the Pilgrims having not died on year one. Yeah, it's kind of odd because again, they're worded almost exactly the same, and yet they seem to be celebrating different things. Like the Canadian one seems to be more of a traditional harvest festival, with the American one being more of a like event holiday, like this was a thing that happened, and we're going to celebrate this thing that happened day.
yeah.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, and the other thing is like the American one is in a really weird place for like an actual like harvest festival because it's like in November. It's ridiculous. Like it is ludicrously late.
But to be fair, it is almost winter here.
This is true.
Like, the last few years, especially like out
I
in the
have a
prairies.
friend who had snow a couple weeks ago.
Oh my.
Yeah, like we've already had snow in Calgary, and lately it's been very uncommon to have a green Halloween.
Oh wow, that's
Well, it's still
Oh.
t-shirt weather here, but t-shirt weather for Canadians is quite questionable. So
Yeah,
we got a lot of falling leaves around Halloween. Like Halloween's usually not exactly a green festival as much as kind of an orangey browny one.
Okay, but orangey brown is still better than
White.
like 3 feet of snow. on ice.
I'm dreaming of a white Halloween.
it'll give the ghosts and the skeletons somewhere to hide.
Yes. It's gotta make decorating way harder because I mean like all those skeletons can't be seen properly.
And you don't have leaves to fill all those silly printed trash bags that look like ghosts and pumpkins and
Oh,
nonsense.
yeah, no, and those are great. Yeah, no, Nightmare
You
Night
don't
is
see
also a
too
thing.
many of those in Canada because we just don't have the leaves.
Well, you can always scoop snow into them. You can make a spooky snowman.
Yeah. Oh my God. Spooky snow movie. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, I wish we had snow here. I would totally make so many gravestones out of snow and snowmen. And yes, yes. But it's still not snowy here, so.
Ah, well, what are you gonna do? Oh yeah, it's also Nightmare Night. Uh, thanks to people in the chat and the fans and all that stuff. Indeed, I don't think there's any actual defined date for that. That's just sort of a vaguely arbitrary thing. But yeah, there you go. Celebrate the upcoming night of Halloween, however you want to do it. Whatever.
Sacrifice candy to your Princess Luna Barbie doll.
That's a good
I
idea.
I am going to be going to Comic-Con.
Oh, nice. I'm actually going to a Halloween party up in
Oh,
Boston.
that's oh wait, I can't say that word. That's really cool. Oh. Not the word I had in mind.
It's fair. Why hasn't
I'm
anyone...
actually in November. I get to go to a Canadian con, so yay! Oh well, of
Oh,
course,
nice.
Petra's going to a Canadian con too. Maybe
Yeah,
no.
yeah. I'm going to C4, and apparently John Delancey is going to be there.
Oh,
I'm going to
sweetness.
HalCon, which is like they call it a convention, but it's like the most pitiful convention ever. So
Oh, man.
yay!
Even
Canadian
more so than
conventions are
TrashCon?
only
Jeez.
cool in Toronto. That's where we have the good conventions.
Nice.
no.
Also, why
Apparently,
hasn't anyone made this into a Halloween version? Oh, like White Oak, do you mean like when you say why hasn't anyone made this into a Halloween version of Nightmare Night? Do you mean like why hasn't anyone set up a Halloween like a Halloween themed convention and called it Nightmare Night? Because I think there is one of those. I think there is something like that.
If not, there should be.
Yeah, I think there's like an actual convention called like Nightmare Night or something like that, and it happens in October, and it's kind of like Halloween themed and stuff.
I have to admit, that's kind of something I want to see. Like, when Christmas time comes around, there's always Christmas crafting conventions where everyone goes and they have all sorts of Christmas crafts. But I've never seen a Halloween convention, like, where everybody is dressed in Halloween costumes and everybody sells, like, things shaped like bats and skulls and pumpkins. I would so go to that!
Oh
And
my!
it's not a thing! And, like, I want to go, yes, make this a thing. But it's not. Oh, and pumpkin everything! Pumpkin pie and pumpkin lattes and pumpkin tea. Oh, pumpkin convention, yes.
I guess part of it is probably like the convention scene is already somewhat, made up of people. Like it's already made up of people like dressing up in costume anyway. So there's so like one of the big elements of a Halloween themed thing kind of goes out the door because it's like, look everyone, we're dressing up as like for Halloween at a convention next to all the
Okay, but
cosplayers.
if you can have a Christmas convention, you can
Yes.
have a Halloween convention.
Yeah, to be fair though, it could be kind of fun. Like it'd be nifty at least. I think the other thing is like there's kind of this weird thing with where like Christmas is kind of generally celebrated throughout throughout age groups. Like everyone likes Christmas. Everyone is sort of like the thing that, as corny as it gets, is always kind of in vogue to not hate. But like Halloween has this kind of weird thing where like for kids it's great because there's candy. And then when you get older, it's kind of this really weird thing where it's like, okay, so is it a night where you watch horror movies? Is it a thing where you go to parties dressed as sexy blank? Like, is it weird to try and dress up in a cool costume when you, like, go to a Halloween thing? Is it weird to just half butt it with cheap costumes and stuff? Like it's always this really odd thing, and like it seems like almost everyone has their own kind of version of what you're supposed to do come Halloween, and how seriously you're supposed to take it at what age. So it's a little bit weird. Like I don't know.
I guess.
I mean, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not that
I live in a
bad.
place
Like
where we have so many different Christmas conventions. Like, one Halloween convention wouldn't hurt. We probably unite people to do it. We have various miniature geek conventions throughout the year just to go and wear geek costumes. So to have one for Halloween seems natural, but I will do it. Next year, I will be the person who starts a pumpkin Halloween convention.
No, but
Sounds like fun.
No, but here's the thing that would make it, like, I don't know, because of how it was said before with all the costume get-ups for every other convention. For, like, a Halloween-themed convention, you have to dress up as somebody dressing up.
That's actually what my costume is this year.
Oh my goodness.
I'm dressing up as a child, dressing up as Princess Elsa.
That
Queen Elsa, sorry.
okay? No, fair enough. That's pretty good.
So,
Oh god, there's some people kind of in the chat talking about like doing a Nightmare Night version of Nightmare Before Christmas, and that this is Halloween song stuff. I think.
oh my god, I hate that movie.
Oh, fair enough.
I just made myself very unpopular, but
Probably. I have no strong opinion one way or the other, but I think there's a bit of a problem with trying to do that in that, like, as much as the holidays are obviously thematically meant to look like, you know, the holidays that we all know and love, they're sort of not. Like, if you actually look at it, they're really not the same at all. Like, the Nightmare Night Halloween thing is
the same,
sort of close, but like
the
Heartwarming
point
Eve is basically the 4th of July. I mean, it's literally a day of national celebration about the founding of the country. You know, it's not the same thing as Santa or Jesus or whatever, you know, version of Christmas you like to celebrate. Honestly, it's almost closer to Hanukkah than Christmas. Because I mean, at least Hanukkah is kind of about, like, you know, the temple and stuff. It's weird. Like, it really is not a Christmas celebration. So if you were to do like kind of a Nightmare on Elm, a Nightmare Before Christmas thing, it really wouldn't have the same context, because it wouldn't be like, oh hey, Halloween is where everyone's scared, but Christmas is where everyone is coming together and you know and celebrating, you know, like getting presents and stuff. We should do presents and stuff. There's no real implication that that is actually what that holiday is about. It's just, you know, kind of togetheriness and national pride in the snow.
we could go back to G3. They had a very minty Christmas. They celebrated Christmas in that.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Okay, so
in the G3 version of Ponyville, Christmas was like this huge thing, and it had a backstory too, but it was still Christmas. Like, you gave presents.
White Oak is asking, then why did Rarity have a Christmas tree hat in an episode? Because she had a decorated hat. I don't think they actually called it a Christmas tree hat. They just sort of, when she has a hat and it has like a tree on it and it's decorated.
Decorating trees is not just a Christmas tradition. You decorate trees for other things too.
Yeah.
Well, didn't it start off as a pagan thing?
Yes.
Also,
yes,
Rarity would just decorate a tree because she's Rarity, and she would decorate everything.
Yeah. To be fair, what they said, like it's kind of like they don't have a Santa. When they bring in a Santa, sure, but yeah, no, candy canes and gingerbread houses, those aren't Christmas things. Those are things that have come to be associated with Christmas to an extent, but they're still things that have existed long before Christmas, and well, long before Christmas is celebrated as we know it today. Candy canes are literally just a candy. Yeah, Twist makes candy all year round. That's her cutie mark. And as for gingerbread houses,
her cutie mark is candy canes, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, literally that is her cutie mark. And as for gingerbread house, that's Pinky's house all year round. Like, she works in a gingerbread house. I don't think it's supposed to be Christmas themed. I think it's supposed to be candy themed. So yeah, it's kind of like, if all those things only appeared in the episode where, you know, they were kind of doing the heartwarming Eve thing, I'd be like, okay, so that's meant to be, it's Christmas. But again, it's like, they don't really do it like that. It's more just sort of like...
furthermore, where they did deviate from the traditional Christmas spectrum by not making it an episode about making trees pretty and giving each other presents, where they made it about this pageant and the backstory of Equestria, they had to put in some things that still let you know that it's supposed to be the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
So those are there for the humans more so than the ponies.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like they have the trappings of kind of a wintry, Christmassy festival thing, because the episode came out around Christmas time. They wanted to kind of, or like, you know, like the winter, and they wanted to do a Christmas themed episode. But the actual context, like, if you actually watch the episode, it's not really a Christmas thing. It's more of a, you know, national pride, 4th of July sort of thing. It's like, here is how our country was made.
It's the foundation of Equestria Day.
Yeah, it's like in America where they do like those they do like the musical play about how the Declaration of Independence was signed, and it's like,
is that really a thing?
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's actually really good. It's like there's a musical, and it's about them trying to convince all the states to unify to write the constitution to like sign
Jeez,
the
do
constitution.
Americans take 4th of July really seriously?
Well, that one was more is less of a national play thing and more of just a musical that a person made that kind of became fairly popular and now occasionally gets shown in like classrooms around the 4th of July because
I'm just saying, Canada
14.
Day is only an excuse to light fireworks, eat cake, and get drunk.
fair enough.
I'm right about that, Pat
To,
Save, aren't I?
to be fair, the thing about the musical that makes it kind of fun is it's actually about the fact that the states really didn't want to actually revolt. Like, there's like half of them that did and half of them that didn't. And the musical is all about, John Adams and Ben Franklin, all these people trying to like motivate the states that did not actually want to, revolt to
Love
just
Ben
go
Franklin.
along. It's also really catchy. Like if you haven't seen it, watch some of it because it's got amazing musical numbers.
I will watch it if you will show me it on YouTube or something.
I will find it for you. There's a whole song about how John Adams is an unlikable jerk who no one likes. It's great.
I don't know anything about John Adams. So...
He was he was the second president of the United States, and a kind
I
of a
don't
huge
know.
jerk.
I know Ben Franklin, though.
Yeah. Franklin's cool. He's an interesting.
That was
fella.
one of my obsessions when I was younger. I go through phases.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
yeah, blowing things up as well. America.
a zombie sounds like St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, Canada Day is pretty much the Canadian St. Patrick's Day, except that we also take St. Patrick's Day very seriously.
Yes.
Really? Like, is there a very large Irish population, Irish Canadian population in Canada?
I don't know, but you will see way more merchandise for St. Patrick's Day than for Canada Day. So
Wow.
it's a huge thing.
To be fair, there is a degree of that with St. Patrick's Day in the U.S., even compared to like the 4th of July, with how seriously the Americans take the 4th
I
of
think it's
July.
just because people really like booze.
It could be. Well, there's also the thing where it's like Boston is a ridiculously Irish town, like a ridiculously Irish city. So like every year, Boston just explodes with green, and like everyone, like all the news media, kind of like follows it around, like goes to it because it's a huge American city that just becomes like this giant pit of ridiculous silliness, like ridiculous silly Irish pride, just all over the place. So it ends up getting a ton of attention, and that encourages other people to kind of take St. Paddy's Day seriously.
Sounds like fun, really.
It's interesting. Like, I wouldn't want to go to Boston for St. Patrick's Day, but like local celebrations can be pretty fun. Yeah, Oktoberfest is great, though. There's not enough Germans in New England, unfortunately, to really get a good Oktoberfest kind of going on. There's some. The German
I don't
Americans.
even know what Oktoberfest is, so I'm presuming we don't celebrate it where I
It's
am.
German St. Paddy's Day, basically. In fact, actually, it's a German harvest festival, so very very time
I
appropriate.
feel like
for
I've
us.
seen a couple bar crawls advertised for Oktoberfest before, but not an actual.
It's a German holiday,
celebration,
so
any variation.
yeah, there's a lot of drinking. Like, there's a lot of traditional drinking involved because, Germany.
Yeah.
And I think in Wisconsin there's a cider fest going on this month for a
Nice.
convention.
Nice. The fun thing about Oktoberfest is that it's like it's kind of this weird thing where like St. Paddy's Day is interesting. Like the thing about St. Patrick's Day is that it's basically celebrated super like strong just about everywhere except for Ireland. Like the Irish do not actually care about St. Patrick's Day nearly to the extent that Americans and Canadians do.
Well, the actual holiday was for ridding the island of snakes.
Yeah, it's like a super non-important holiday, and it's completely ridiculous. No
But
one
then
cares.
it became an excuse to drink, and then everybody adopted it as a holiday.
Exactly. But the thing about Oktoberfest is it's kind of it's one of the very few holidays that gets celebrated a ton outside of its native country. But in its native country, it's also just humongous. Like, it's like a real Christmas mixed with Thanksgiving, mixed with Halloween, all rolled up into one big like 3-day celebration. So it tends to kind of be this big glowy point that people love to celebrate and like to feel good about celebrating, because it's one of the things that it's not just like taking it out of context from the original people and celebrating it way harder.
Because I want to think for Oktoberfest, It's either Winnipeg or Edmonton have such like a huge Oktoberfest that people from Germany actually come to come and see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like one of
Go
the few.
Canada.
It's one of the few that rivals the celebration in the home country that people actually try to go from their country to another one to see it.
Nice. G might saying that, well, St. Patrick's was a saint. He's a big deal with Catholics, and yes, the Irish Catholics are obviously a huge portion of that their population. But here's the thing: St. Patrick's Day, yes, is a day celebrating a saint. You know how many days there are, like celebratory days there are in the, like in Catholicism celebrating saints? Because spoiler warning,
lot.
there's a lot, like to the point
Hey,
where
we
the
have
church
Saint
does not.
Valentine's too. That's a saint.
Yeah, he's a saint.
Uh,
Crispin was a saint. Saint Nicholas is a saint.
Saint Jean Baptiste.
Yeah,
Oh,
Becky
he's
said,
right. Yeah.
yeah, like there's I think actually something like 100 or so saint-based holidays. Like if you're like a strict Catholic, yeah, okay, yeah, Maya is a Catholic. There you go. But yeah, there's we have like one every few days. Exactly. There are a ton of saint days in Catholicism, to the point where the church has actually basically gone on record saying like, no, you do not get to take days off to celebrate all of these.
I was like, but just imagine all the holidays you can take.
Exactly. But no, the thing is like, yeah, Saint Nicholas Day and St. Patrick's Day and St. Valentine's Day are all fairly big holidays, but none of them are taken quite as seriously as they have been taken in like the U.S. Like the U.S. kind of takes those holidays and ramps them up to 11 because of the non-religious significance of them. Because the religious significance of them is pretty mediocre. Like in the same way that like a lot of non-Jewish people are surprised when, they ask the Jewish person like, oh man, like, what are you doing for Hanukkah? And they're like, not much. Hanukkah's really not that important of a holiday. It's a really not important holiday. It's just that it happens to be near Christmas, so people give it a ton of respect because, oh, it's like Jewish Christmas. So, yeah, it's kind of like one of those weird things where it's honestly not a huge, like, there's a bunch of not hugely important holidays that end up getting celebrated in gigantic ways despite not really being, like, hyper important holidays, like, for what they originally stood for. I mean, Thanksgiving is another pretty good example. I mean, it really, like, what Thanksgiving originally, in the U.S. at least, was originally supposed to be was, like, the day in which the, pious people of New England would all get together and say, as one, like, oh, a day of celebration and prayer for God for, giving us this wonderful land, and has turned into a day where people put out a ton of food and get the whole family together and celebrate.
Oh, don't forget about Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Oh, well, yes, okay. And then that got subverted as well to just turn into,
That is
right.
sad.
Yeah, and Saint Nick is Santa. Saint Nicholas is generally kind of like, he is Santa Claus. Santa is in fact the way more jolly version of Saint Nick, because Saint Nick was kind of a jerk. Yes, and there's a bunch of days that appreciate Mary, of course. Yom Kippur is super important. Rosh Hashanah is good. There's Passover is obviously the big one. Passover is hugely important in Judaism.
Yeah, that was the first one I was thinking of when you were talking about the Jewish holidays.
Yeah, the thing about Passover though is like it is probably like one of, if not the kind of big, like calendar mark day, but it's a pretty freaking big one.
Hi,
But
you said
yeah,
it.
I said the bad word. It's a pretty big
It
one.
wasn't me
However,
for once. Yay!
but the thing is, like, a lot of Jewish holidays are really depressing. Like, they're not fun to celebrate, and a lot of them involve fasting and or apologizing to people.
Fasting, I always remember.
Yeah,
I
Yom
didn't
Kippur
know
is
you had
apologizing.
apologation holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, Passover is fasting because it's the day God didn't murder everyone in the whole Moses story thing. they're not fun holidays. They're not about the presents and everything. So
It's not like Thanksgiving and Christmas where it's all about the warmth of being with family. It's about not having died.
pretty much, yeah. It really is horribly depressing, and that is why, even though Hanukkah is a super not really all that important holiday, it still tends to get a lot of love in the U.S. and stuff. Partly because whatever, it's right nearby Christmas, and also partly because it is one of the very few holidays about something good happening to the Jews for once.
Oh dear.
It is. It's it is the day that the lamp oil held out for a while longer. Which is when your biggest, most happy celebration is the time the lamp oil lasted a bit longer than anticipated, is considered the super happy one because it's compared to the day we didn't die and the other time we didn't die, and that one time we had to apologize to everyone to make up for the fact that we didn't die. It's yeah, okay, we'll take it. It's nice. Whatever.
Oh, poor Jews. That is messed up.
It's a little depressing, but whatever. You just appreciate the days for celebration's sake, and later on you grow up and find out that they're super depressing.
But to be fair, the whole world's a little depressing. So
This is true.
Little teeny bit. It's the meaning of life song. Always look on the bright side of life. Yes. And G Money is right. Passover is also important for Catholics because of Lentil. Funny thing about having a religion that is sort of that is expanded upon another religion is that both religions will tend to have a lot of similar holidays. Because those days of religious significance for the older faith are kind of sort of partly part of the thing that the newer faith also believes in.
Yay, religion!
It is
chocolate.
kind of a thing. It is a thing. But yeah, no, that's yeah, so sort of. You can say that, Jimmy. I mean, in a lot of ways, yes. I mean, but anyway, off the subject of religion for a bit. Holidays.
It's we just today in the show we started with politics and then moved into religion.
And somehow
what was the other topics that you're not allowed to address because we might as well do them now?
Well, the thing is, we managed to tackle all those things in ways that hasn't managed to turn into an argument or offend people in the chat yet. So.
Well, I didn't know it was possible to offend people with 2/3 Canadians on staff. I thought that was going to be our safeguard.
It's our safety net. It's how we avoid.
We're shamefully inoffensive.
It's a little ridiculous.
No, actually, people think I'm exceptionally offensive, but
really?
I digress. Oh yes, my family hates it.
Oh wow, I'm really kind of wondering it. I've heard.
The funny thing is, I'm considered offensive because I'm too politically correct.
Wait, what?
I offend other people by being so politically correct that they feel they're being impolitically correct, or I correct them for being politically incorrect, and then that offends them, and so then I'm offensive or offending them.
So you're being offensive by trying to be as unoffensive as possible. So pretty much,
yes. I'm saying this because that's what Canada is like. That's how we work.
Yeah, it's you are the epitome of Canada right now.
Oh my goodness!
I'm considered offensive for being too politically correct.
You need to talk to Lightning. You need to talk to Lightning Rapid. I'm sure he would have a field day trying to become offended at your political correctness. He's got a weird thing about that. Oh, hold on. What was that, G Money? The only offense thing is when Duhad talks about Earth ponies. It's not offensive if it's true. Let's just be completely honest here. Earth ponies. I mean,
You watch it. I'm an Earth pony.
You are, and I've got nothing against Earth pony. I have Earth pony friends. I'm just saying, you don't got magic. You don't got wings.
You're doing the same black humor my dad does.
What does your dad make those type of jokes about, though? Because I'm fairly certain they're probably not cartoon ponies.
No. He's done that when I've explained ableism and asexuality both. He's like, I get it. So when you meet someone, and and he does, if it's ableism, then he's like, you say, oh, Oh, I can't even think now. I'm so bad at being ableist, I can't even do it. But he whatever it is you're not supposed to say, then he's like, "Oh, I've got it. That's what you say," which actually means he's learned it and he's knows not to say it now. But he does that same black comedy thing. I don't know. It just made me think of that.
Oh, fair enough. I like to do that stuff with Earth ponies because I find that Earth ponies. One, I actually like Earth ponies a lot. I think they're probably my favorite. Like I don't have an Earth pony OC or anything, but I actually sort of wanted to do that. Probably because they might just be my favorite of the three races, if only just because they're kind of sort of like in a world of magic and flying and like all these fantastical and amazing abilities. They got the ability to grow plants slightly faster. That is so like adorably like token. Like it really honestly felt like the show writers were just sort of like, oh, they can
They can do
the
strong
farmers
things.
they can be farmerly really good, I guess.
I don't know. They're the only ponies I'm drawn to because they feel like the average to me.
Well, that's the thing. Like they are like ridiculously average, and I love them for it. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't actually dislike them for that. I love that about them. I love the fact that in a world of magic and ridiculousness and stuff, they are the just guys. Like they're the average Joes of the world of magic and fantasy. They work as the farmers and have these special abilities to just kind of do stuff that other people can do, but a little bit better. Like, it's the same reason I like Colgate, because it's like, she is the dentist. She's the dentist in the magical realm of fantasy. Like, it's just great. It's great, being the janitor of the mythical realm. Like, it's, I love it. I absolutely adore it. It's
Zombie
so
says
sweet.
everyone forgets the zebras. It's not true. I have a zebra OC. Most of them are earth ponies, but one of them is a zebra. It's just that zebras are rare, so not everyone can make one.
The problem with the other races is that they're kind of cool, but they never get any screen time. We don't really know anything about them, and so you end up with this kind of awkward thing where it's like, okay, what do you do with these guys exactly?
Yeah,
They're kind of cool and stuff, but you don't want to go like and do something really awkward, like going like, oh, hey, we saw horses and they're based on Arabian stallions, like Arabian thoroughbreds. I guess so. All horses are Arabic, or oh, Zikora is kind of West African / Caribbean. Are zebras analogous to Pacific Islanders / African Americans? I don't even know what the hell griffins are supposed to be. Like, Gilda's just sort of a jerk. I like to joke that they're the Russians because, they're just sort of like the most stereotypical. They kind of come off a little bit like.
By Gilda's voice, you could almost argue she's like a California girl or something.
Oh yeah, no, she totally sounds like a California girl. I mean, more I like to think of them as Russians mostly because it kind of fits in with this old like 80s 90s cliche of always having the international villains are always in sports movies and stuff are always the Russians, and the Russians are always like really big and really tough and kind of jerky. So I like to think of like the Griffins as essentially being that. Like, Gilda is the stereotypical like 90s Russian competitive sports baddie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe Australian. I can see Australian, I guess. Like, the other thing is also just like the whole like heavy like birdy liney thing kind of comes off as very cold weather. Also, we don't actually have
And
any
I
like
think
that.
Zikora was supposed to be like Nigerian or something, wasn't she?
Well, apparently the voice actress was told to do kind of a West African / Haitian voice. Like, that was the accent they were kind of going for, like sort of a like not like native Haitian, but like the Black Haitian population.
Well, anyway, she's the black African trope. So there we go.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, obviously, she is West African. Like, she's themed very strongly off of sort of voodoo, West African themed religion stuff. So yeah, it's
I have to
obviously
wonder
meant
if
to be
she's a
something like that.
hugely offensive character. Like, I love her because her design is so cute, and I love that accent. But I don't doubt that she's so offensive.
She might be a little offensive. The way I
It
see it
always
is like
reads really racist to me.
I don't know if it's necessarily super racist because like they don't really like I don't know. It's sort of odd because like I'm honestly like I've studied voodoo and it's like which sounds super weird because like
No, I understand.
culturally like we always think like it's zombies or
Voodoo was
something.
originally a religion, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it is still a religion. It's still a practiced
Yeah, so
religion,
that's fine.
and it's an interesting one. It's actually a very interesting religion. The thing is, her stuff is not actually that far off from certain, voodoo practitioners, like real life, like people who actually like practice it as a like legitimate real world like modern day religion. She's not that horribly far off. But it's kind of the thing where it's like, okay, they clearly, put in enough effort to make
Well,
her
then
not
the
like
thing
a
becomes,
super.
though, even if it's accurate, does the tokenism make it racist?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you kind of got it so it's not like offensively stereotyped, but it is still kind of like you have the one character who sounds like they're from, from Haiti, and you made her a voodoo, alchemist with a bunch of tribal masks
And
who lives in a
every
tree.
other creature and pony and creature and every single thing pretty much has an American accent.
Yeah. So
So-
it's odd. It is kind of weird. I mean, again, that's sort of the point for the original episode she was introduced in is that she is supposed to be, very very foreign, and the point of the whole episode that introduced her was supposed to be, yes, foreigners are not actually like scary monsters. They are totally cool people who are just a bit different.
I almost take offense to that plot of the episode too. Almost seems so like, do we really live in an age where we have to teach children? No, African people aren't weird. Like that's the message is kind of backtracking in my opinion.
It is a little
honestly.
bit, but the other thing is like I think that there are still kids out there who probably could learn that lesson of like Americanism is not actually a default, and people who are not American enough are not actually.
Oh, I don't doubt
No.
it's useful for certain people, but overall, I feel like maybe it's more harm than good.
Maybe it's an odd thing where you start like making these calls because the thing is like you might be right. You might actually be right. I'm not saying that you're wrong when I am proposing a counter argument because there's a very valid argument that might actually be the case.
No, and I would never assume that you're pointing out that I'm wrong. This is a debate. You're allowed to say what you like.
Yeah. The thing is just like I don't know that there's necessarily like there's kind of this weird thing where when you argue about whether or not something has reached the point where it's no longer an issue and shouldn't be discussed because it's just dragging up bad stereotypes and causing more harm than good. Because like there's kind of this thing where it's like, okay, at what point is that the case? And like like doing videos about like how homosexuals are not actually out to take to like try and like do horrible things to children. It's like, yes, okay, obviously, like I think we're beyond that point, and bringing that up again is just going to be like offensive to more people than it's going to help. But on the other hand, like is the lesson of don't judge other people based on their ethnicity and whatnot, is that so universal now that it's actually more harmful than helpful to kind of reinforce that? Or are we still in a world where that is still a thing that people should probably still be taught at a young age? Like, have we crossed that barrier between like that message being just universal or not? Because that's the yeah.
Racism still is a huge issue. I won't lie. I know that it's an issue. We have racism in Canada. There's racism everywhere. It's huge. It still happens. It's terrible. A lot of it probably has to do with the government. Sorry, government. But I don't know if the way they handled it in the show was necessarily as appropriate as it could have been. I feel like they went way too far to make Zecora the odd one out. Like,
it's like
it's too extreme.
It's too blatantly like look at how weird this foreigner is.
It's not like they could have accomplished it just as well by having a pony who was a different breed of pony rather than representing a different human race.
Hmm. It is a
Like
little odd
having a
there.
Frisian or something,
Yeah,
which for horse talk, for the non-horse people, that means like a draught horse, but they have curly hair instead.
I get that. I think that they already put in like ponies with different kind of styles and stuff, so I think they probably did want to go with like an entirely different, race of creature.
Well, they could have done
But yeah, they didn't necessarily have to go as
a
well.
different breed of creature without having automatically made them another human race as well.
Well, well, okay, hold on. Just like devil's advocate here. There's another argument to be made of like, is it actually kind of racist to essentially go like, you don't belong in this thing because you're too weird and too different to be on a show like this. Like, we don't want you to be, represented because you're too far off. We know what's best for you. We're going to, avoid offending you by just cutting you out altogether. You don't exist. Therefore, you cannot be offended. Don't worry about it. You can thank us later.
No, and that's never the solution, but the thing should be, to my knowledge, as far as the current season and all the movies and the additional media and everything has been, Zecora is the only character who does not represent the white middle class. To my knowledge. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. Hold on. You guys take over the conversation for just a minute. Hello, yes.
Whoops.
What? Yeah, I can't talk right now, actually.
No, yeah, I think you're right about that. Like, I'm trying to think. I don't think that anyone else really falls into that non-nerdy, like, kind of conformed bubble. Like, yeah,
Like, I guess we've seen, like, Aloe and Lotus do have an accent of some variation. So, I think they're supposed to be German or Swedish.
Yeah, I saw them as like some kind of like European.
And then I think European is still counted as white, isn't it?
More.
That's a slippery slope when you essentially just go like, oh, whatever, all white people
So-
are white. I mean, like, if you add a German character in, or a French character, or a Swedish character, it's going to be pretty distinctly different than an Englishman or a Frenchman or an American.
But they'd still be kind of within being compared to Caucasian, wouldn't they?
Sort of. I mean, like, I think honestly,
I
like,
forget what the rules are.
it gets a little awkward when you
a character of color, but
yeah, well, I think it's a little bit awkward when like you start like kind of going like, okay, well, it has to be. We're going to base different characters based on their skin pigmentation rather than being cultural differences. It's like, yeah, if you add in like a Ukrainian, a character who's obviously based on Ukraine, it's going to be pretty significantly different than. I mean, like a good example of this is actually in like the comics. They had the alternate universe, and in the alternate universe, the art design was actually subtly changed to be less Greco-Roman and more, Middle Eastern to kind of like Egypt and Byzantium. Which is not a huge shift in style, but it is a noticeable shift. Like, it is noticeably different designs. And even though, at least, like one of those countries is traditionally considered, to have a Caucasian population, it is still noticeably culturally different. It's still like, you look at that and go like, yeah, that's different. Like, that's a different culture. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit. I think if you're going for a different culture, you don't necessarily have to say, okay, but here's like, it doesn't count as a different culture until you get a different skin tone.
no, but that's culturally. My argument is pretty much, I wish they'd put more characters in it that were supposed to be of the same race or whatever of Zecora, because
More
I love her so much, but she's so token.
Yeah. Like introduce some more zebras and have them be
More zebras or
diverse.
more characters with that kind of accent or something. Like,
Well,
because I mean, they're all fantasy colors. It'd be hard to argue that, like, there's different races necessarily. I mean, she is a zebra, which is different from a pony, but the accents are how we know what their background is supposed to be. Like all the people from Canterlot have the Canterlot accent.
Yeah. Well, don't forget they
So,
also had Native American buffaloes. That was another thing they did. As well.
oh right, that was also pretty bad.
Yeah.
I was offended for my Native Canadian friends at that episode.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, sort of odd. Like again, it's yeah. There's an interesting thing. Yeah, a little racist. There's an interesting thing that someone that I read about the like in a review of that episode, kind of like post like after the fact, where someone was kind of talking about the fact that like the episode kind of went over pretty badly, not only because it was vaguely racist, but also because like it was kind of in this really awkward position where like it seemed to want to talk about this really, really sensitive and really, really kind of like borderline taboo issue about Western encroachment onto native land and essentially a race war. Like it ends with a race war, but it's all like kind of glossed over and brushed off really, really oddly. So it's sort of like here's some really, really dark stuff. Let's kind of
Let's throw a song in
and
there.
it's over.
Sweet
It's
Pinkie
done.
Pie.
And then they're not fighting anymore, and they've worked out an agreement and taxation or something. Okay, the end.
Oh, yeah. The show doesn't have a good track record for racial diversity. Let's go with that.
It's a little odd sometimes. It's a little odd. I like when they try and do like culturally different things. Like they have like like the different art designs for the Crystal Empire and Cloudsdale and the Three Tribes and Canterlot versus Ponyville versus Dodge and Appaloosa.
Well,
So
to the
like
credit of that, like the Crystal Empire, that's arguably from G1.
true,
Cloudsdale, that is G1.
right.
Um,
I'm talking
a
more.
lot of
Yeah.
a lot of that, they're not necessarily recreating anything. They're just going back and doing it again.
Yes, fair. But like the original designers then, also we'll get credit for that. But the point is, they're doing stuff with different like different cultural palettes. Like Manhattan is obviously based on New York. Cloudsdale obviously has inspiration from Greece and Rome. The classic Three Tribes had high medieval European influence. The Earth Ponies had low class Western European influence. Cloudsdale in like the Pegasi tribe was super obviously based on Legionnaire on Legionnaire costumes. The in the Crystal Empire they kind of had a real Byzantine kind of feel to everything. It really felt like Constantinople, et cetera, et cetera. Trottingham they did the whole British accent thing for Trottingham. Not quite the same thing there, but yeah. Fair. Point
I
is,
kind of feel like the Crystal Empire was like a Pompeii sort of a thing.
well, kind of. That's in the same region, but like the design of like the clothing, like the togas and stuff, is very reminiscent of Eastern Rome, of post-split East Rome, with lots of white, lots of kind of very segmented, kind of flowing outfits, hairstyles that are very, very tightly curled into kind of like buns and stuff. Like that's super, super, Eastern Rome.
Mm.
And that stuff's cool. Like again, it's
So they're good at representing different cultures. They just screw it on the races.
yeah. It's just when they try and take like super broad brushstrokes over actual real life racial groups.
Though at
it's a
least,
little bit odd.
for the sake of the buffalo, they had more than one.
Yes, this is
That
true.
doesn't make it better, but there was more than one.
There was a really weird thing in one of the comics, like not one of the main series comics, one of the one-shot comics, where they had a cooking thing, and they had a bunch of like celebrity judges, and there was a buffalo in that, and it felt really awkward because I was like, wait, hold on a second. So is this supposed to be like? Because there's like an obvious Indian pony, and there was an like Asian the Asian country India, a pony based on
Yeah.
East Asia, India, and then a buffalo that's kind of obviously supposed to be like Native American and like one other person. And it was kind of odd because it was like, wait, hold on a second. So is this like a thing now? Is this like when you have like, are the buffaloes a tribe or are they just whenever you need someone who is Native American-y, it's going to be a buffalo? Like, what? Like,
Oh,
I don't,
that's.
I don't know. I guess like
I don't have good feelings about this.
it feels a little bit weird sometimes. It's just sort of like, okay, yeah, Saudi Arabia, they had horses and stuff. Like, but I mean, like that's a little bit. I'm slightly more okay with the like. Okay, the thing with the Saudi Arabia thing is it felt a little less ridiculous. Maybe just because we didn't spend any time with them, so it was just sort of like, hey, look, there's the people from Saudi Arabia, and they are Arabian horses, and they have obviously, like classic Arabic style, fine clothes for the diplomatic visit. But we didn't see anything of their culture or anything, so it felt a little less odd and possibly token. Whereas, like, when they just randomly show up with,
Furthermore, too, by making the Saddle Arabians, they did breed Arabian horses.
yeah,
But I don't really think Arabian horses have anything to do with their religion or cultural views.
yeah. Whereas buffaloes
Buffalo
are pretty
are sacred to Native Americans.
well to certain tribes, and the tribes that they were obviously kind of modeling them on. Yeah,
Well, I don't know much about Native Americans compared to Native Canadians, so I'm kind of just guessing. But
there's a ton of tribes. It's what you need to know. It's just that
we
there's a ton
don't
of
we don't find buffalo sacred here. I don't think. I think it's a
Well, yeah,
moose or something like
it
that.
was in the Great Plains because that's where all the buffalo actually were, and like they were super important to the survival to like survival because like they were the staple. They were like rice in a lot of Asian countries and wheat in a lot of European countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's sort of like it's a little bit odd. And like, yeah, there's Jean Pierre, the Griffin, that was in a couple of episodes, and like, and Gustave Legrand was the thing. But like, again, those don't feel necessarily as token because we saw non-French Griffins. Like the Griffins are obviously more representing a broader number
They're
of nations.
less token and more just really bad French guy trope.
Yeah, which I mean,
Like that really horrible accent that you know that's a sneaky person for some reason because the bad accent, I don't know.
Oh, and the mustache.
Yeah, the mustache.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like
French villain trope. It's a thing.
Yeah, but like all those were slightly less, ridiculous, like offensive and everything, because it was just like it felt more like just sort of a one-off joke. In the same way that like Applejack being a Southerner with a cowboy hat and a lasso is less offensive because it's just sort of like whatever. It's just a little joke thing. It doesn't feel a little bit like you're trying to make some sort of weird point.
Well, it's not like she goes around also like playing a banjo and eating fried chicken. It's
Not
just
sure.
her accent.
Fried chicken's a different stereotype, but yeah.
Well, all the fried food is like Southern cooking, right?
Yeah. There's just like you're not. It's an American thing. Don't worry about it. Trust me. It's not something I really want to go to. But
Okay.
I'm Canadian. We don't have the South. We don't even know what hot is.
yeah, no, it's fine.
What
yeah.
are you doing?
There is a very famous racial stereotype involving fried chicken. It's just not Southerners that it's associated with.
Okay, well.
But yeah, it's not a place we want to go to. It's yeah. Anyway,
They use that accent to represent the pony pilgrims in My Little Pony, not necessarily Southern cowboys.
yes,
Yay.
you might just write watermelon too. But yeah, no, that's they. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I didn't. Oh, glad. Anyway.
It's not just My Little Pony, though. All cartoons and television shows, even for adults, do a lot of these stupid things, so...
Yeah, it's this odd thing where it's like there's a lot of...
And video games, actually. Nothing is
Yeah.
immune from these terrible things.
It's pretty much everything. Like any form of entertainment media where they need to quickly establish a character a unique character who is from a different region will usually do so by being a massive stereotype of their region. Like to the point where there's actually like this whole trope about how like the like blah, blah, blah. There's a whole trope about like aliens or like fantasy characters where you meet where like you'll only have one in a story, but he or she is like the ultimate example of their species.
Yeah.
So like Worf and Star,
seen that.
yeah, it's like Worf in Star Trek is like the Klingon who represents Klingons. Like he talks about like I am a Klingon. I am doing this thing because this is what Klingons do. Or like Liara Sony in Mass Effect to an extent, like she'll talk, like she's less so because you get to see other Asari and stuff, but she'll occasionally kind of do. Actually, a much better example is Tali. Tali, you meet her, you don't really meet any other Quarians in Mass Effect 1, so there's a lot of scenes where Tali's essentially just going like, I'm doing this thing that is Quarian based. This is what Quarians do. We repair things because I repair things because I am a Quarian, and that is a Quarian trait, and et cetera, et cetera. And like the reason for that isn't necessarily.
There's also the alien race, mostly based on existing human race, but disguised as alien race so that we can do it without being racially offensive trope.
Yeah.
On that note.
Yeah, but the point is like the reason they do things like that is occasionally just because like they're trying to come up with a way of defining a character, or defining a region, or defining a country, or whatever, and so they do it by just making the character from that area as stereotypical of that people as possible. Even if it's a fantasy country and all the stereotypes are just to establish the country in the first place, it is just like a way of essentially making a really fast character and just going like, okay, they are a combination of all these tropes. You know what all these tropes are, and therefore you know what this character is. Bam, done.
Which we really need to stop doing.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
And also, G Money says in the chat, like, yeah, well, they are all made by humans, so we're all flawed. I don't think the problem is that everything is made by humans. Obviously, we can't pass it off to dogs or cats or something. The problem is that these things are generally made predominantly by white humans.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, the thing about it is, I think it's like. The thing is that, it's almost not even as much about who is making it as much as who it's being made for. Like, it's being made for people with an assumption that they understand this, and this just right off the bat. Like, they don't need to explain, Western, middle to upper class culture to the audience, because the audience, the Canadians, the Americans, the English, even like people from around the world, because of how ubiquitous American culture has become through like Hollywood and stuff, can basically just right off the bat get it. They get what what kind of the default American culture is like, so they don't need, so they can use that as a base without having to explain anything at all. From there, everything else has to can be the exception, and they have to explain the whatever else, or explain or use as broad a stereotype as possible, so that people can just fill in the blanks on their own. So like Gustave, like they have the French chef in that one episode with the French Griffin, because it's like French cooking. Everybody knows that that France is famous for its fine, it's incredible chefs. Therefore, to show that we have a super experienced chef, we will make him French, and we'll make him kind of a bit snooty so that we know he's the villain. Therefore, he is the traditional snooty French chef who is super good at cooking. Boom, done. Characterization taken care of. You can fill in the rest of the blanks.
I guess the thing is that, and this is a big one, people need to be more comfortable working without stereotypes. Because it is harder, and it is a little more uncertain, but it's less offensive. And just to be okay with not having everything said or set in stone. I mean, if you're working within a 20-minute program, you can't say everything. There's nothing wrong with making him a chef without a French accent and just having someone remark, oh, look, it's X name, that famous chef. And then everybody knows, oh, he's a famous chef.
Yeah. Again,
that's not that hard, people.
Yeah.
But as good as that is, it also kind of comes like that. It almost seems like that's kind of what a lot of analysts kind of strike against things, is when you have things done by narrative or by explicitly saying, like, oh,
I know it comes back to show don't tell, but
Yeah.
they,
It's not clear cut is the problem. It's really not as easy as just saying, well, here, let's use the solution and then it'll be taken care of.
no, but it is something that does have to stop.
Yeah, it's no, definitely. There has to be better ways than making it as like ludicrously, on the nose as it is. However, there is kind of the reverse thing where there can be really awkward implications when you just kind of do whatever. It is very possible to essentially go like if they had made, say, not saying that they necessarily had to have made the episode the way they did, but assuming they had made the over a barrel episode. Was it over a barrel?
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
that's the one with the buffalo.
Okay, yeah. Assume they made over a barrel, but they hadn't used Native American stereotypes. They'd used something else. It would be incredibly easy for the wrong message to be sent if they had, had done something else. Like
To just appropriate another culture's struggles is equally inappropriate. Yes.
not necessarily, because the thing is, like, if they did it as like white people, like they made the buffaloes just like generically kind of white people, it could be saying like, instead of saying, oh, like this is something that happened to Native Americans, it couldn't come across as something along the lines of, oh, whatever you people can complain, but look at what happened to us. This is now an example of something that happened to us, and we suffered way worse. So shut up. This is more important.
Well, yeah, it becomes appropriating the struggles of another culture, which isn't okay. But I think the thing with that episode would just have been, why did you have to make that episode? That is not a good episode, really, and we should kind of just pretend it didn't happen. I don't know.
It was not a very well written. Honestly, even beyond
pretending it didn't happen means they won't learn from it. But on the other hand, like, there's no redeeming features of that episode. There is nothing that can redeem that episode.
I know. I'm trying to think. It was honestly not a very good episode all around, which is kind of the uncomfortable thing about it. It's like there's all these weird questions and stuff. It's like, but what if we'd taken it out and lost this classic? Oh wait, no. That was not the it wasn't over a barrel. It wasn't over a barrel, because over a barrel was the one where Applejack ran away and it was derpy. No, it was what the hell was the episode called?
I'm so sure it was over a barrel.
No, because over a barrel, no. It was over a barrel. The derpy episode was Last Roundup. That's it.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, there you go. There. So, the over Last Roundup was also a terrible episode, but at least that one had derpy. Yes. So.
Well, that one also became
was
its
also
own
really
can of
bad.
worms.
Well, that one's also really bad, just in general.
I don't like the last roundup because they took one of my favorite ponies from G1 and ruined her. But
Cherry
I digress.
Jubilee.
Yes, Cherry Jubilee.
Yeah. Now the derby thing was ugly for various reasons, not the least of which being the fact that
I'm
the
still
question.
pretty conflicted about that, to be honest.
The thing is, like, it like, no matter which way you cut it, it's offensive. Like, it ends up being kind of offensive either way, because like either you're offending like people with disabilities by showing them in a semi-jokey way, or you're offending people with disabilities by cutting them out of the episode and trying to like go like, oh,
make them normal.
Yeah, like it has to be normal. It's like, God, no matter what you do there, you are going to come off like a huge jerk to someone.
I think the portrayal of the character of Derpy Hooves as useless or incompetent was ridiculous. I'm conflicted about the use of the word / name Derpy and if that in itself was offensive or not. I still haven't decided to this day.
Well, here's the thing. From the perspective of someone who, relates to and works with people who, that name was supposed to be offensive to, they overwhelmingly tended to be more on the side of, we liked having that name being used. Like, we liked having that being a thing that was normalized and nice and that, was a positive example, as opposed to it being a thing that's like, no, that's shameful.
Well, that is the thing, too. The word derpy has come to have an overall positive meaning in our culture now, so...
Yeah, so...
Is it necessarily bad? I don't know.
The thing is, it's as bad as you make it. And when you tell people, by the way, if someone calls you this, it is offensive and we're going to have it removed, and by the way, you should be super offended and feel horrible. It sends a really bad message to kids who are getting teased with that. It's like...
I still use the word sometimes because I do think it's cute and it has its purpose, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's...
I guess it comes back to, though, if someone were to call me a gimp, I wouldn't find that offensive, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like you can normalize a word and make it not offensive, but if you try and, like, if you deliberately go out and try and make the word, like, even more offensive, then guess what? People are going to be offended by it, you know, and your attempts to make it less offensive is only going to be, you know, hurting people who genuinely would not have been hurt otherwise. Now, having said that, adding her into the episode, giving her a really ridiculous voice, and having her bump into things and stuff might have sent the wrong message.
The betrayal of the character, there's no argument that that was wrong.
Like, I think the thing is, the weird thing with that one is that if you'd taken out any one of the elements, it probably wouldn't have been so bad. Like, if she had the original, like, if she'd had the replacement voice, like, she hadn't sounded really slow and kind of odd, then the name plus the clumsiness would have just been like, oh, derpy, oh, clumsy you. If you had the voice and the actions, it probably would have been kind of offensive, but without the name, it wouldn't necessarily have clicked. If you had just the name and the voice and not the actions, it might have been sort of offensive, but not really offensive. So the problem was it was all three of those things all put together that created this perfect storm of, oh my, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't the VA's fault either, because
we're not placing blame
yeah.
on the voice actress or necessarily anyone.
Yeah,
we're just saying it could have been handled better.
Yeah, the thing was, like, the voice actress had been told, or, like, apparently had assumed, and yeah, this is, like, Waiku's pointing this out, and this is fairly common knowledge, she had been told that she was playing a guy. So
I think the problem was that nobody told her what gender character she was playing, and she just assumed from the lines that she was playing. Let's face it, when you see a character that is supposed to be like dumb in some way in TV, they're always male.
Yeah,
always.
It is a weird thing where, like, yeah, the goofy dumb guy character is always a guy. Like, it is. I guess it's probably because,
it was her assumption that it was a boy, and nobody told her because it's a one-off character.
Exactly. So there's this, like, she recorded a voice that was kind of slow and dumb and, like, Ed, Ed, and Eddie. And no one gets offended at, like, you know, Ed from Ed, Ed, and Eddie, even though he's probably a way more offensive example. But that's because, like, they don't, like, there's kind of a general understanding all the way, you know, through the chain, like, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, be careful not to make this too offensive. And this was kind of the opposite of that, where, like, people didn't talk to each other, and so it ended up being way more offensive than it should have been.
I would actually like to see Derpy introduced as a regular character, even with a mental disability, and treated respectfully, but I don't trust the staff to do it, ever.
Well, I think I kind of do. I think it's just that, like, I don't necessarily trust Hasbro to give them the green light to do that without trying to turn it into a very special episode sort of thing, which would be pretty kind of offensive, because, let's face it,
you know what?
Very special
Hasbro and all the staff of My Little Pony need to go watch Arthur.
Yeah, that probably could learn some good things there. But the thing is, like, I think, like, the way that they put her in some of the background scenes in the bit, they kind of, like, introduce her into things where sort of, like, she's there and she's everyone's friend and everyone kind of likes her and hangs out with her and stuff. That's great. Like, if they wanted to introduce her and basically do nothing else except for say that, yes, her name is still Derpy and maybe she has a mental disability, but obviously that has no impact on the way other people treat her. She's still treated with respect and niceness and all this stuff. That would be amazing. Problem is, if they ever did it, it would also come with a mandate that said, but now you have to do the very special episode where we, you know, have the sad music and the super ham-fisted lesson and the ridiculously over-the-top voice to really drive home the point that this character is mentally retarded, and so that everyone knows how enlightened we are for not treating her badly, you know, after we've really driven in the fact that, because that will be how it's done. That is the problem with the very special episodes.
But I don't even think they can come and do that now because of what happened with the first introduction.
Yeah.
Like, you know, forget everything else except like just.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of like the petty thing to focus on, but with the voice change, like with that, you can't go back and use either one of those to have her as a character, but you can also just put in a new voice.
Well, you can use the new voice, like the new voice that is in the DVD, releases and stuff that's just a regular lady's voice. Like, I don't think, like, people, some people would probably freak out a little bit about the fact that it's like, oh, it's that stupid voice you replaced it with, blah 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 blah. But I don't think it's gonna like offend anyone, because like I think the big thing was like the fact that they corrected her eyes and took out her name was what really kind of got people's blood boiling. That they were essentially like, nope, we're taking out that physical disability. You can't have that anymore. No physical disabilities on the show, and taking away that name just to really drive home to the kids at home. That word you heard was offensive, and you should be offended by people who say it. The voice thing was more just sort of people being like, "Wow, but I wanted the thing that we had before." Wow.
Well, I'm going with her because she was introduced in like the last season again, and she was kind of involved in almost like a full episode, and there wasn't really any implication there.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Well, they did the cross eyes, and that's all they really need to do. Like
and they still showed her as more than a capable person, doing the training for the games and still being a capable flyer. So it's not like it's the whole big stamp of incapable of doing anything.
Yeah, no, they've had a couple of background gags where she does something kind of silly or does something a little bit clumsy or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever, we get it. It's a little bit of a background joke that this is someone who's kind of adorably bumbly, but they haven't like done anything like super smashing up a building or anything. And I don't think they will again, just because they want to be as careful as possible.
Oh well, we're past 6 now, Duhad.
Oh yeah, we are. Wow,
note.
15 minutes past 6. So
I was waiting for you to be done.
Yeah, I think we're done actually. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on this fantastic show. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sorry, this got so heavy.
Yeah, this whole episode is like super heavy. I think
don't give it a weird title on YouTube, Duhad.
I might give it a weird title on.
No, don't give it a weird title.
It might be like the.
Give it a respectable title.
Call it like the super heavy episode.
I was actually going to say like the super heavy episode.
Man, it sounds like a maxi pad.
Oh man, well, would you prefer
hell?
Equestrian History
X? They come
X?
in different heavies. Anyway.
Anyway, hey guys,
weights.
see you guys tomorrow for Let's Roleplay and Let's Read and all that other good stuff. Till then, next week we will be back with even more of us talking.
Yay!
Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.